Legends of Tomorrow Season 2, Episode 13, Land of the Lost. I think this is actually a pretty good episode. Of course, this is coming back off of our week break. We actually get, finally, but I wasn't sure what was going to happen, but I was so happy that we got good Rip Hunter back by the end of this episode, because honestly, I was like, okay, he takes over the ship. It really surprised me. Based on the promo, I thought they were going to be flying through I forgot the actual space that it's called, but I thought they'd be like floating through like that space and time the entire episode. I thought it was just going to be them on the ship trying to fight Rip while he has control over Gideon, so they have to fight against him as well as the ship defenses in order to survive. And that didn't happen. That ended really early on. And I was like, oh, I thought this was like the whole episode was the entire team trying to survive. And then that ended like halfway through, and it was like, yeah, actually they stopped him. And then the battle actually ended up being within inside of Rip's mind. So half the episode, they were still on the Wave Rider, and it still involved that and them dealing with Rip. But it was more about actually utilizing the techniques that were used on Mick when the Time Masters forced him into being Kronos. So they used that on Rip, which I never even considered that. I didn't think that they'd have that. And it's just like, you know, they used to do this thing on me, like, he called it like Krogdy something, which I thought was funny. It's like, yeah, we'll just use that. All time ships are accustomed, or, you know, equipped with that technology. And it's like, oh, they just need to like hit him over the head pretty hard, and then they got it. And that's pretty much it. Like, they take him out, and then it's like, boom, we're good to go. We jump into his memories, we find him within his subconscious, and we kind of help bring him back. You know, they already shifted him before the Legion of Doom did. So we go in, we just change him back. And I was like, that's actually pretty simple. Of course, it's easier said than done, but I didn't think they'd even get such a simple idea in this episode that fortunately did end up working by the end. So I really enjoyed the way that played out. The other half of the story was actually pretty good, where they end up being shot way back in time because they have to, Jax has to like redo like the entire system on the ship. So they of course get launched back in time, and it seems to be like a weird coincidence, and it's like, no, the reason we're, you know, in the Cretaceous period is actually just because I had to go to my oldest entry, and it was like, oh, there's nothing super cool or mysterious about that. It was logic. So I was like, oh, I thought something really cool was about to happen because of that. But we get to see Ray's little Cretaceous period bachelor pad, which I thought was really funny. He made like the little figures of everybody, and we hear about this rivalry between him and this T-Rex because he ate one of the eggs, because of course he was dying, he needed to survive. And I love how they did that. But the important side of that story, where they're actually traveling outside, is actually between Nate and Amara. And I really love that, where she decides that, based off of what happened in the last episode where she talked with Stargirl, she will kind of go forward with basically what she feels in her own heart. And I don't know what they're going to do, but they talked about, you know, Nate not changing the timeline and things like that. But there are a lot of weird things that they've done with this show that kind of say, maybe, you know, with time travel being as weird as it is, maybe this happened because this person ends up going back in time and being with this person. So I don't know, because of what we had in the previous episode, where we see in the future, in some episode, Ray is actually going to be, he's going to go back to the medieval times and become a king. Maybe that's what he's meant to do. So maybe we find out in the future that Nate and Amara are meant to be together, and he actually goes back to 1942 with her, or something crazy like that, and they end up going together. And, you know, that's how that plays out. So very curious if that's meant to be the case, but I was like, it's not as definitive as they make it seem, where it's like, you know, she's supposed to go back, and it's supposed to be this tragic stuff where basically her village is destroyed, and then, you know, her granddaughter ends up inheriting it and stuff like that. And I'm like, it seems simple like that, but we don't know who she ends up with that leads to her having a daughter and then having a granddaughter who is the current Vixen. We have no idea who she ends up with. So it could easily be Nate if he decides, you know what, I love this woman, I'm going to go back to 1942. So they kind of make it seem like, oh, he can't be with her because of that. But they've done some stuff in this where it's like every weird thing they do is possibly meant to happen, because we saw that even in the last season. It was like, maybe you were supposed to do this because it ended up working out, and that's how this part of history plays out now. So it's hard to say. They make it seem like, you know, this is how history is meant to be, but maybe Nate's supposed to be there. Who knows? That's kind of tragic for him too, because the point is the village does get destroyed, so that isn't really good. So there are some elements to that, but I was like, I don't know. It's not as simple as it seems based off of some of the stuff they've actually done with this show and time travel, and especially with Flash. I mean, everything's changing in that show, so it's not as simple as it seems. Like, this is how history is. Who knows what's going to lead up to that specific point, in the history book. So I'm actually excited to see where they go with that. If they kind of just follow in line with it. Of course, he wants to, Nate wants to be with Amara, and Amara wants to be with him. So he knows that future now, and he has to figure out how does he go about, dealing with that, and how can he distance himself from Amara and make it where they're just friends, even though they both have serious feelings for each other. So I'm actually looking forward to that. There's some elements there. I can't wait to see what they do with it. I hope it's not just generic and that is truly it, and it's just like, yep, we can't be together. He tells her the truth or something. Or if he does end up telling her the truth about her future, that would be exciting too. Even if they don't end up together, she would know, and that could still change a lot of things. So there's still a lot to this where it's like, I'm very curious how things are going to play out with them, just because of the fact that there's a lot of time travel involved. It's going to be much simpler than, oh, he knows the truth, he wants to save her life, which of course he'll want to because he knows the future. So he'll probably end up telling her, and then some other crazy stuff will come out of that. So oddly enough, I'm looking forward to the relationship stuff that they're bringing up. I normally do not care about relationship stuff, especially in superhero shows, but this I'm actually looking forward to. There's so many ways that it could go with the whole time travel stuff. It's like, I'm actually excited to see how they play around with it. But other half of this episode was really good too, where we have Jax and Sara actually going into Rip's mind, and they end up fighting evil versions of themselves, which was really cool because everybody was like, all costumed up, which I feel like we haven't seen in a while, at least not for like Sara, like her in the white canary outfit. I feel like it's been quite a while since we've seen that because they've been jumping through times, so everyone's been wearing era appropriate costumes for quite some time. We haven't seen like the white canary outfit. Well, Jax and Stein have fused together, so that's kind of automatic, where it's like if they fuse, poof, superhero costume. So it's kind of hard to say exactly how that sort of thing is going to play out for them. But for most of the other characters, specifically Sara, she's like the only one who we haven't seen in costume. Ray has to have his outfit. Nate hasn't really had his either, and neither has Amara, because she has the Vixen outfit, but we actually haven't seen her wear that in quite a while either. So I thought that was cool. We don't see either of them in the subconscious, though. We only get like the main people, so we get to see Mick, we get to see Ray. We see Jax's Firestorm when we get Sara, kind of like the big fighters of the team. So that was cool. I really enjoyed that. I thought that was a really cool way to do it. I love the visual effect as well on like the evil Firestorm. I love like that dark fire that they had. I thought that really looked great. So I thought that was really cool, the way they went about things and having to survive against evil versions of not only themselves but their friends. And eventually Sara gets knocked out, and she ends up finding Rip, and so of course he's freaking out, and she's like, hey, I'm real, we need to get you out of here, because the Legion of Doom kind of made you think that we turned against you, but none of this is real except for me and eventually Jax. And Jax ends up finding Gideon, they get the actual actress in, which I thought was very cool. So I love that we got to see her, and I love the way they explained it, because she's like, yeah, the reason I'm not evil is because, the Legion of Doom never considered maybe the evil AI needs to be corrupted, so technically I'm still good. So she was able to help Jax out and get to Sara and Rip, and so they're able to, help him escape. They end up defeating the evil versions of themselves with Rip's help, and he does like some, it was almost like some Kamehameha type stuff, some DBZ moves. So he's like shooting them into the wall, they vanish, he escapes, or he helps get rid of them, and then they escape. Sara is fortunately saved. I mean, honestly, I was surprised. Jax takes off his little thing, or he pushes the button, he gets zapped, and I was like, okay, he could just just take his off and put it on her wrist, push the button, poof, she wakes up. He went and opened up the thing, and he gives her like the defibrillator. I was like, that seems way more intense. If like, is it one jolt and that was it? I'm like, he got the watch for a reason. Didn't seem to make a lot of sense to me, and I'm just like, I don't understand why he couldn't just put the little wristwatch on her wrist and then push the button himself and it wakes her up. Especially if the defibrillator did work, obviously the wristwatch would have, but he was like, we have to figure it out, we don't know what we're going to do. And it's like, it could kill her, but she'll die in there if we don't take her out. And he hits her with that. I was like, that is way more than what I thought. I thought it just boom, boom, push the little button, she wakes up, and he hits her with the, the defibrillator. It certainly woke her up, that's for sure, but it surprised me that that was his idea. I'm like, was it one jolt for those, little wristwatch? But still liked it. And of course, surprisingly, actually, right before Rip ends up escaping and he's back to his old self, which was pretty clear after the whole episode. I was like, alright, obviously he's going to escape from here, he'll be his old self. Just before that happens, he ends up sharing a kiss with Gideon, and I thought that was very interesting. And she actually remembers it because, and at first I was so confused by that, and then I was like, oh, it actually makes sense, because if they're logged into this technology, it makes a ton of sense that Gideon would basically be within, their mind. So it actually makes sense that they would, if they're linking through technology and Gideon's within that technology as a part of his subconscious, it actually makes a ton of sense that she would have that memory because she was hooked in literally into his brain. And I was like, actually that makes sense. And she mentions that she enjoyed it. And I don't know if that could possibly lead to something where somehow we get a physical representation and they, bring the actress back in. But that's what it made me think when they did that for this episode. It was cool to see the actress, by the way, because she's just the disembodied voice. They haven't even done the head thing in quite a while, I feel. So we see the actual actress, and it's like, that's interesting. It's weird to hear the voice from the actual woman herself. So it was kind of weird seeing that, but definitely cool. I love when Jax and Gideon show up at the little hold. And Sarah's like, but you're, and then of course Gideon's like, human, and she's like, well, I was gonna say hot, but yeah, that works too. I thought that was a really funny sequence, and I knew she was gonna say that, but it was just funny to hear her and be like, well, I wasn't gonna say human, I was gonna say hot, but I thought it was really good. I like the way they did the subconscious. It was great to see Rip, of course, go back to being the hero again, and of course he gets rid of the evil villain black trench coat that he had, and he puts on his brown one again. So I certainly enjoyed that at the end. And he greets everyone again, and he shakes hands, and it's like, it's nice to meet you guys officially, for the first time and things like that. So really, really good. And then it goes to the final piece of the puzzle that they're looking for, the spear. And it's Nate's grandfather. They didn't know where he was or anything like that. It's like, what is going on? Where the heck is this guy at? What time period is he in? Of course, with Rip's memories being back in place, they know where they have to head to, and unfortunately, the Legion of Doom does as well. So we already see Thawne there, and now the team has to infiltrate NASA back in the past before they do an entire moon mission. So I kind of can't wait to see how this stuff plays out. They actually make it to space. It seemed like Ray was actually in an astronaut outfit, so I don't know if they knocked somebody out and he replaced them. But of course, Thawne ends up replacing somebody else, so that should be pretty nuts. I don't know how they're going to do Speedster zero gravity. It should be fairly simple. If he hits a wall, he's got the momentum after that. So I don't know if we'll really get that. It's not like it's a giant space station. It's like one of the first. It's a mission to the moon, so it's not like a space station today. It's not even a space station. It's a rocket. So we probably won't get some cool stuff like that where he is running around in zero gravity. But I'm still very excited for this next episode. I love Eobard Thawne. He's my favorite out of the three villains that we had, so it doesn't, it's like, if it's him, he's my favorite anyway as a speedster, and I think he's the coolest villain out of the three just because his story is so much cooler, where it's like, I'm trying not to get literally wiped from all of existence, even though that's literally my, pattern in life. Man, it is so windy outside. That's the awning almost snapping off from the house. Jeez. But he's my favorite villain, so I wouldn't mind if he was the only one in this next episode, but either way, I'm excited for it. I certainly enjoyed this one. Would love to know what you guys thought about it, so please put your comments down in the comment section below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts, and I definitely want to know how you guys feel about Rip finally being back on the side of good. Do you wish that we got to see Evil Rip a little bit longer? Do you maybe wish that he'd done something a bit more drastic as Evil Rip? Maybe so that he could have really sad moments, which I guess technically he will, because he did kill one of the JSA members, so that did actually happen. He did kill a guy, and he killed quite a few people. I mean, that was kind of his thing. He was constantly murdering folks left and right, so there's a lot to that, I guess. But we'd love to know how you guys feel about him finally being a hero again, and where you think they'll be headed next with him having had some of the harsher memories of what he did in the past, because I think it could, even though he didn't do anything like super crazy, like he didn't end up killing one of the team members or anything like that, I do still believe that he'll have some issues with just having done some villainous things, because that's not his character. So I'm excited for that. This is super random, but I love the line where when Sara came in, it was like, oh, the jacket still fits. And he said, it's hard to gain weight as a film student. I love that line because I was like, that is, it, for me personally, as someone who does video work, I was like, that's actually really hilarious. So I just love that line. It was like, it's kind of hard to gain weight as a film student. I was like, it can be stressful. So I just love that line because I thought it was really funny. But like I said, would love to know how you guys feel about Rip being a hero again. And of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know. And thanks for watching.